Still going strongly in the closing minutes. Great run by Kevin McAllister! What a goal that is! Delivery's good, there's Hagen. Now McGrillen, he scores!
It's Stokes on a hat-trick! Goal number 3 for Anthony Stokes!
Ralston saw off Robertson and delivered! Sibbald scores! That's the goal! That's the moment! Samuel off and running again. Is it going to be the hat-trick? You know it is.
This is Falkirk Daft.
Welcome to Falkirk Daft. It's your unofficial podcast dedicated to everything to do with the mighty Bairns of Falkirk. And it is the day after the Scottish Cup. We'll talk about the game against Alloa in a bit, but the draw has just been made just as we started recording. So let's get straight into that with a man who knows how to handle balls, not like Sean Maloney did in the draw tonight. It's Ross Wayne!
Cheers, buddy. Yeah, he made a total cock up of that, didn't he?
Is this a 6 or a 9? I don't know.
I must admit, I'm pleased because the thought of playing Livingston is just so boring.
I quite fancied Livingston. We're due them a fucking going. We're due them a turn, and I think we could. What? No,
I don't think. I think. Can you imagine if we got put out and there's like 1,500 people at the game? And there's no money. You've been parked out. Whereas at least this way, and then I genuinely think Darvel have got a real shot tomorrow night against Aberdeen. And in fact, by the time this is out, Darvel may well be through. So
I don't know. I mean, certainly from a Falkirk, right? So the good and the bad, I guess. If we get Darvel, there's obviously no. If they beat Aberdeen, then we go down there. You know, there's no guarantee of us.
Oh no, that's true.
Us going through, but if Aberdeen obviously get through, there's a bit of cash there involved. I don't think we'll get picked for the telly.
Do you think if it was dark, like I think there's an outside chance we could be the TV game, and I'll tell you why. See, if it's Aberdeen Falkirk, then there's an outside chance we could be one of the BBC games because it's a lower league team versus the Premier League team. Blah blah blah. If it's Darvel, again, the capacity of that place is really, really small, and I don't mean to say Falkirk are a huge TV draw because we're not, right? But that's a potential shock because that's what Darvel's junior, isn't it? A junior team versus a league team. I think if Darvel get through, I could see that potentially being a wee outside.
So how do the games get carved up? Do Viaplay get 2?
They get 2, and let's face it, we know which 2 they're going to pick.
Viaplay will have Celtics in them, and it'll be Rangers Thistle.
Aye, so that'll be your 2 Viaplay games. BBC then have a Saturday lunchtime game and either a Friday night or a Monday night game for the other option. If I'm being honest with you, John,
Monday night Kilmarnock will be one of them, I'm guessing.
Could be, but again, it's a run-of-the-mill game. The BBC might look at it as, oh well, we show them every week on sports scene.
Raith Rovers Motherwell, I mean, because there's a potential for shock. There's a potential for shock in that way. Motherwell not doing so well at the moment.
Yeah. No, listen, and I suppose there as well. Who's it? Raith need to get past? Is it Linlithgow?
Yeah, there could be a shock there. To be fair,
be a shock there, and you would assume someone like Linlithgow versus Motherwell would definitely be a TV game. So I don't think that'll be a gimme. We'll need to see how that all pans out in the next 10 days with these games getting played. But yeah, it's interesting. At least it's not a team that we've playing against normally in the league, which is a bonus.
I tell you what, you look at Cove or Ayr will be rubbing their hands together for the chance to get into the quarters because that's them drawn against Elgin City or Drumchapel.
Yeah.
So
the Drumchapel one's interesting as well. Like, I think Elgin probably will win that, but if Drumchapel do get through, would Drumchapel be at home?
Away.
Oh, they'd be away. Because I was going to say, when I looked at where Drumchapel play, that looks like an interesting wee junior ground as well.
I mean, we're going to speak to Bob earlier on. I remember it was Drumchapel that put Edinburgh out.
Indeed, that's right. And the pitch looked horrific for that game. So, yeah, and I love the Scottish Cup. This is what it's all about. I love it. Yesterday was a brilliant pre-game yesterday. Alloa was really busy. The trains are busy with Bairns fans heading through. The pubs are all busy. Good bit of chat, good bit of singing and atmosphere and stuff. So yeah, no, I love the Scottish Cup.
No, gutted I wasn't there. Obviously, it was my wee boy's birthday, but you started drinking at about 11 o'clock. I saw your tweet. You had the pints at 11 o'clock.
We were that group waiting to get into the station hotel, before.
Oh, were you waiting to go?
It was a bit awkward because I'll tell you why. Because there was a big group of Burns fans, not just us. There was maybe another 6 or 7 Burns fans waiting to go in as well. And then you had a group of Livy fans who were obviously in Larbert for the Stennismuir game.
Aye.
They obviously knew. Well, I don't know if they knew we were Falkirk fans, but there was various jokes made of, is this your entire away crowd in the pub type thing? So,
obviously.
And so yeah, but
were you starting ID stuff again? The Burberry was out, the Stone Island was out yesterday, Ross. Were you looking for a ruck with the Livingston fans? Were you?
Just a bit of banter, John. Just a bit of banter.
Just a bit of banter.
It is the most I've ever seen Livy fans in one place, though, and I include Almondvale in this tonight, or whatever Almondvale is now called, the West Courier MacArthur Glen Roundabout Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, listen, but good day out, obviously, and station, then the old brewery. Sounded like a great day out.
Yeah, it was good. The only disappointment with the old brewery, because it was full of Burns fans, was the most of the TVs had the chronic Celtic Morton game on rather than the Liverpool Chelsea game. So that was the only downside. However, yeah, brilliant. Loads of Burns fans, as I say. The train that we got in, which was back at 12, was full of Burns fans. So you could tell it was going to be a good game. A good crowd yesterday.
Yeah. Well, let's go straight to Benny T's corner now, Ross, because you have your ear to the ground yesterday. It's been quiet in the last week. The only thing we can say and we only found this out due to Bonnyriggs tweeting yesterday while I was out. I thought, Paddy Martin's playing for Bonnyrigg. They've just tweeted our new goalkeeper Paddy Martin has made a couple of saves. End up getting beat 4-0, fair enough. But Paddy Martin has went out on loan to Bonnyrigg. Apparently, reading between the lines, there was a cock-up between Bonnyrigg that was meant to be getting announced today, and then Bonnyrigg decided to put Paddy Martin straight into the team yesterday.
Yeah, so that's a bit
Paddy
of a
Martin
giveaway.
has gone.
Yeah, bit of a giveaway. I don't think we're going to see him back in a Falkirk shirt. So best of luck to him at Bonnyrigg and wherever he ends up thereafter.
However, one thing that definitely is happening is we've brought in a new goalkeeper, Brian Kinnear, on loan from West Ham. Now, he played for Rangers after getting through their youth system. He's former Scotland under-21 international. He's played for West Ham with the under-23s, and he's made a couple of appearances in the Premier League 2 and in the Premier League Cup for West Ham as well, and he will wear number 17. Has he been signed as a number 1, or will he be back up for PG?
Personal speaking, I think he'll be the number 1 /17, obviously. That's an interesting one. So that you would have assumed he would have retired 17 after Jamie Wilson.
Yeah, of course.
They've rehashed that one very quickly. His bed's still warm. But yeah, no, I think he'll be the number 1. I don't think West Ham, or indeed any team at that level, will loan you a player without having a conversation as to how much game time they're going to get.
Yeah.
I think he will be the number 1. If he's not the starting goalkeeper next Saturday, it'll be the first time that PJ makes any sort of error, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just anything else you've really heard? Because, I mean, we now look a bit threadbare. Obviously, the big rumour that has been doing the rounds is that Kai Kennedy could be recalled by Rangers and then sent out on loan to Tampa Bay. Yeah,
but the Daily Record ran that story towards the end of last week, so which would be particularly annoying because Kai's been doing really well. Played well again yesterday, if I'm being honest. Got up and down the wing. Was a nuisance. Put a few good crosses into the box as well. So I'd be pretty gutted actually to lose him. I just hope it is a rumour and it's not going to come to anything. I would also, we were talking about this yesterday, John. I would actually offer the guy a pre-contract, and I'm not saying would be the first to be the top of his list, but if we put a decent offer to him and try and get him on a pre-contract, I think we should.
Do you think he's out of contract for Rangers
In the summer? Yep.
Do you think the deal? I mean, I don't think he'll get off with the contract at Rangers. But do you think I would suspect if we were to get up to the Championship, I think you'd be right. But I don't think he'll. I think there'll be a lot of Championship clubs kind of looking at Kai Kennedy.
Yeah, but then that's the beauty of a pre-contract, isn't it? Is there not an element of flexibility where you could say if you're still in League One, then
I guess so, yeah,
or vice versa. But that would be really, really frustrating if we lost him, because he has definitely came onto a game. The only other bit of gossip we heard on Friday into Saturday was Inverness have released George Oakley, ex Kilmarnock and Inverness striker, 6'1", 6'2", decent striker, a decent pedigree. So there's a rumour that he's going to be signing with the Bairns this week.
Oh, really? That would be decent. Ewan Henderson went a bit quiet.
That did go quiet, and you wonder if he's maybe going to end up elsewhere. I think if not to say that if he's not coming to Falkirk, he's not going anywhere. But I think, the more the time ticks on, I'm not convinced we'll see him at Falkirk. But the Oakley one, I think he would do really well at this level.
Few trialists in at the club. I believe an American boy. A few forwards are in, but I believe there's we had a look. An American boy, and I'm just trying to find his name as we speak.
Was this the Fisher one?
Yes.
Yeah. Some American college had tweeted to say that he was on trial, didn't they? Which was a bit odd.
Yeah, and then I rushed to YouTube and found a video of him. He looks all right, but you can never tell from YouTube.
Oh, I know. Well, that's it. We've been sold a dummy a few times, probably by that. But I think John McGlynn, did he not? Was it the post-match interview or was it pre-match interview for Saturday? He says that if his targets don't come off, that he may look at some of the trialists, because I think he sees them more as work in progress for longer term rather than short term impact.
Yeah, I mean the other rumor that was going about there was one about Conor McGrandles making a return.
I think somebody's
up
a BBC Sport page there. If I'm being honest, I could be wrong.
I think he's been playing. Was it who's he playing for? Is it Luton?
Charlton, I think.
Charlton. Yeah, I think he was injured, I believe, and he's making a comeback there.
He'll be on a good wage at Charlton, and I'd be really, really shocked. I think that's just somebody making something up and putting a graphic together. The graphic didn't look great either, to be honest. That was allegedly snipped from the BBC. I think if the BBC put a story up, they're not going to just whip it back down.
So I'm guessing so. But yeah, looking at actually into the Fisher, he's landed in for my trial. Thank you, Falkirk Football Club, for the warm welcome. Great session today. So Fisher trials with Falkirk FC. This comes from his own Facebook, apparently.
Right. Okay.
I will tell you what, I'll post it. I wonder how he's getting on, but I will post up on YouTube. I found the YouTube video of him, so I'll post it up.
Add that on so we can have a look. We can have
a look at that. Yeah. By the way, can I just say, Mystic Meg here was talking about Tiwi Daramoa last week here, saying that scored 40 plus goals for Bo'ness Athletic, and he's went and signed for Kelty. There you go, on a pre-contract, and then loaned back to Bo'ness for the remainder of the season. It's one we could admit we missed out on. And I noticed that actually Jamie Swinney, who obviously he came through Stennis Muir's community programme and everything like that. Jamie Swinney congratulating him on the move to Kelty as well. So it's just, I wonder if it's one that's just escaped us,
Well, it could be, mate, but I think John and Alan Frieder and Paul, I think they'll have their ear to the ground locally as well as nationally, and they've maybe looked at him. They've maybe sent somebody to look at him, and whilst he's scoring goals at that level, maybe they just don't think he's going to be anything near for us. I think, and I mean this in the greatest respects to Kelty. Kelty probably are a League One / League Two team that will spend most of their time in these two leagues. if we are
got big ambitions, Ross.
They do. I know they do,
ambitions.
John, but I know they do. But I think I would much rather, and I hope this doesn't come across as like being like old firmish, but I think we need to set our sights on a better caliber of player, to get us where we want to try and get to. And I don't want to say this young lad's not going to make it, because you never know, he might. And it's a lot of goals he's scored, but I just don't see their signing that type of player from that environment.
Fair enough. Going back to the Kai Kennedy as well, the rumour. Do you see Andy Rogers, what he put up on his Twitter?
No, what did he say?
Andy said, I've heard a rumour that Kai Kennedy can't get into the States due to previous convictions. Now, that was Andy Rogers on Twitter, by the way, that said that.
Brilliant.
So there's the hope. I mean, I hope Kai hasn't got previous convictions that stops him getting to the States. But certainly, from a Falkirk's perspective, that would really help us out.
Definitely keep him. Yeah, that's a good rumour. I don't know if I'd want to put my name personally to something.
No, narrow that. Yeah. Those are the words of Andy Rogers, by the way. Andy Rogers, John, former Falkirk striker.
John, I think you should tweet from your account, not the Falkirk Daft account, that you've maybe heard he's got links to like Al Qaeda. Try and keep him at Falkirk.
There you go.
Try and keep him at Falkirk.
Absolutely. So that's the rumours we've heard. If you've heard anything, please get in touch. It's all kicking off in our Discord channel. You can get the links below. There's a lot of chat going on at the moment about potential signs. Oakley's certainly a name, like you say, Ross, that's creeped up. So join the Discord chat and get involved in the chat there. And if you hear anything, please let us know. We'd love to report it here on Benny T's Corner, because we all know all the best rumours start at Benny T's. They've not sponsored this feature, by the way. It's really disappointing. If anyone from Benny T's is listening, come on now. Come on, this is apps. We're giving you this for free.
Don't just pay us in chips.
Pay us in chips. I'll take that.
Yeah, Falkirk in Vegas, the only place you can buy sex with chips.
So, club news-wise, Ross, a couple of bits and bobs to go through. I think the most important thing to start off with is the board have released a supporter update, talking about the exits from the squad, talking about Blaine Rowe coming in the door, but most importantly, getting into the financials and talking about the forthcoming up AGM, Ross. Back in late September, we asked shareholders and supporters for 500,000 investment to completely cover this season's projected 400,000 operating loss, and to give us the option subject to other factors of potentially replacing the pitch during the summer. In late November, we informed you that the response had fallen well short of that goal set, and we're looking on other ways to fill the gap. As a result, we postponed the club's AGM to early 2023. We're pleased to confirm that both the board and auditors are now happy that, subject to the year-end financial projections and cash forecasts submitted, the AGM can proceed with unqualified accounts. I don't know what any of this means, by the way. The 21-22 AGM will therefore take place Thursday, 23rd of February, with all documentation being issued this week, or let's say next week. I'd like to sincerely thank every single supporter who stepped forward with investment, whether via patrons, Falkirk Support Society, or directly. We'd also like to thank shareholders who have agreed to provide loans and those fans who have purchased a 10-year season ticket. However, this experience has provided a salutary lesson that going forward, the club must move a more solid and sustainable operating model. We look forward to discussing the options with the shareholders at the AGM. That last line, however, the experience has provided the lesson going forward that the club must have a more solid and sustainable operating model. What do you think that means, Ross?
Could mean a few things, John, but I'm guessing there's going to be proposals put to the shareholders at the AGM then, on how they can go ahead next season without budgeting for a 400 grand loss. So it could be there's investment news, maybe. It could be that they're looking at a more structured way of bringing income into the club. So I don't disagree with it. We can't be run like, obviously, when we had Kenny and Keith on in September, October time, they talked about how having an operating loss isn't something new. The club have had an operating loss for something like 13 out of the last 14 seasons. But if we don't get out of this league this season, I think there has to be massive changes in terms of how we're running the football club. And if that's the case, obviously we want to be out of this league, but we obviously at that point of the AGM, we're definitely still here, and we need to think about if we are still here, as to how that's all going to look. So it sounds like there's opportunities, and there's going to be requests and questions put to the shareholders, which is obviously needed. It's great that they've been able to get that all signed off, so that kind of guarantees us that there's not going to be any financial issues between now and the end of the season. Obviously, this cup run is going to help. So I had a look. I don't know if I've still got it to hand, but I think even if we were to, I don't want to be pessimistic, but even if we were to lose in the next round, I think the money, because this the last 16 we're going in, isn't it?
Yeah.
So a last 16 exit. So even if you get parked out, it's 47 grand is the prize, which is a decent chunk of cash, right? Plus whatever you may make from
TV, gate.
if it's on TV or the gate, right? A quarter final exit. So if we can get past Darvel, because I think it will be Darvel, you're then receiving 102 grand. So it's creeping up. So this is all brilliant that we're doing this, not just from a monetary perspective, but footballing as well. It breeds confidence. The fans love the Scottish Cup as well. So it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to hearing what's going to get said at this AGM.
Do you think that line, the club must move to a more solid and sustainable operating model, is an indication that the fan ownership in the FSS, the third leg of the stool, do you think that's a hint that it's not working how they thought it might? I mean, we're at over 600 members of the FSS now. I think, maybe they budgeted maybe 1,000. I'm just...
Yeah, so the latest number, just 630, I think, the last I heard earlier this weekend, so 630, and that's contributing, 7,500 per month, which is good money going in, right?
Yeah.
However, if it's not achieving what they hoped it would, then I think we can read between the lines and say that they are obviously... I don't think fan involvement or the fan element, I don't think that's ever going to leave us, because we've got so much of the club is now run by the vast majority of the fans. In terms of the shareholders are obviously the smaller shareholder. You've got the FSS, you've got the patrons group, and let's not forget, even some of the old MSG, as they used to be known, they were Falkirk fans. Did they get every decision right? No, they didn't. Are we still paying for some of these decisions? Yes, we are. But they are Falkirk fans. And obviously that statement also alludes to the fact that there's been loans. Doesn't mention any names, but I think we could probably guess who that's maybe came from. And that just shows you that even after everything that's went on, they would never ever want to see the club in a dire strait.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously it leads off with, although we're progressing well, we can't rest on our laurels, and there's still another 600,000 of income to be generated by the end of the season. So, like you say, that cup run and anything else that comes along the way, it will certainly help on that. Interesting times. It'll be interesting to see what it said at the AGM, and look out for that email, shareholders, land in your inbox this week, and that's something we'll probably discuss on next week's show as well. I mean, aside from that, all quiet in the Western Front. I like the graphic that the club put up about Aidan Nesbitt. 2,309 minutes played, 27 appearances, 11 assists, 3 goals, top assister in the division. It just goes to show you, we've been critics of Aidan Nesbitt, and it just goes to show how he affects games now and how he's come on as a player.
No, he's definitely kicked on in recent months, John. He definitely has, because I know we have been a critic of him, but some of it was deserved. It wasn't just us two that were moaning about him and having a critique about him. He needed to just do more than work hard and run about. Like you and I would run about, you probably a bit more than me, we would run about as much as we could on that football field. But it doesn't mean you're having an impact. But he is now having far, far more of an impact. The graphic was telling. The stats on it was really, really strong. Shout out to Gordon Hall, who gets pundit as well. He does the graphics for the club, and they always look great. So yeah, big shout out to G.
Well done, Gordon. So apart from that, lots of sponsorship opportunities and updates as ever. As ever, there's always something to sponsor. If you're looking to sponsor something, Falkirk have got something for you to sponsor. Don't you worry about that.
There was a new one. There was a new one released this week. Was it partner of the match? So you've got man of the match. So you can have match sponsor, ball sponsor, captain sponsor, goalkeeper's glove sponsor, captain's armband sponsor, and now partner of the
What
match.
do you get for partner of the match, do you know?
Do you know, I didn't actually look at the specifics.
I did notice, however, that Ross did say if you make a couple of signs before the Alloa game, Falkirk Daft will be one of the partners of the match.
Yeah,
God knows what it is, but...
No, yeah, well, they only signed one, so we've got out of that one.
That's all right. Well done, Ross. We've saved a bit of cash there.
In fact, let's do something really realistic. So if they're listening, see if you sign 4 good players this week, we'll do one.
Right, there we go. There you go. If you're listening to that, Jamie or anyone there, you've heard it from Ross. He's paying for it. Right, okay. We'll get into the Scottish Cup match against Alloa, will we?
Yes, indeed.
Right, okay. So as ever, we like to get a best pundit on to Falkirk Daft to go through the match with us. And this week it is John Fairley. How you doing, John?
Fine, thank you.
Fantastic.
Good to be here.
How long have you been supporting the Bairns for?
53 years.
53 years. You don't look 53, John.
No, I'm actually almost 71.
71? You're joking me.
No.
71 years old, jeez.
I'll be 71 in the March.
Wow, you have seen everything. Right, well, this is going to be good because obviously it's usually young whippersnappers we get on here, John. So you'll be able to, when we ask you, how did you get into Falkirk? What made you start supporting them?
I left school at 16 in 1968, and there was White Construction who used to have office in Pullman, and they had a plant down in Grangemouth. They're looking for somebody to be to employ an apprentice joiner. So I went along to interview, got the job. Then it involved going to college at Falkirk College, and it was a Tuesday. I used to go and we did what they call a twilight class, which was from 6. And there was guys in my class said, "What are you doing?" I says, "I'm just getting the bus back to Cumbernauld." "Oh, we're going up to the Falkirk game." She says, "You want to come up with us?" So that was what kicked it off. I started going to the games, then going on the Saturday as well, and the rest history.
Fantastic, brilliant. And you've been supporting them for 53 years, John. Who's been your standout player? It's going to be a hard one to choose, I'm guessing. But who's been the best player you've seen pulling on the navy blue?
I was really liked Ali Donaldson, the goalkeeper.
Right.
I used to have a caravan based up in Carnoustie, and he ran a wee pet shop in Carnoustie, and I used to go down of a Friday or whatever, a quiet time, and we used to spend up there talking about Falkirk.
Brilliant.
Wilson Hogan. We used to sing Wilson Hogan on the wing. There was a chant they had about him. And Ali Donaldson was a goalkeeper. He's known as the Cat.
Yeah, brilliant. So, that was back, must have been when you were first starting to go to the games, John, was it?
It was in the early mid to mid 70s.
The early mid 70s. There you go. And what about any modern players you've obviously seen them all, John. Who've been the kind of modern players that stood out for you?
Oh, Crawford Bapty and Crunchy. These 2 legends of Falkirk Football Club.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, listen, it's great to have you on, John, and it's great to have a man who's seen it all. I mean, you've seen us every week, and you've seen us as part-time as well.
Well, as I said to you, I think when I applied, was a friend and I were playing. We were both members at Trice. We were playing at Trice one day, going back 8 years ago. Mm-hmm. And there was this guy playing behind us, and my mate says, "We'll wait till he catches up and see if he wants to join us." We catched up, and he caught up with us, and we said, "Do you want to play around with him?" He says, "Well, that would be very nice to have company," and that was Russell Lafferty.
Oh wow!
Wow, I didn't know Russell played the Trice. There you are.
No, we came up and played that day. It was he went to the Canoers as well, and he went to the Mall. But I played 15 holes with us.
Brilliant.
Really
Was he a
nice.
good golfer?
He was a fair golfer, yeah. He could hold his own.
How many fags did he smoke while in the round?
I don't remember him smoking that day.
Do you know? Yeah. There you go. Oh, he smoked while he played football, but does he smoke while he's playing golf?
No.
That's a cracking story, though. That's brilliant, isn't it?
Chance meeting that, it was great.
Yeah, later on in the show, we're going to give someone the chance to go to our night at the Dobby Hall with Russell Appy. But let's get into the match. It was the Scottish Cup, all the fun of the Cup. I didn't make it, unfortunately. You two were there. Falkirk 2, Alloa 1. Goals from Roman Burrow and Brad Mackay. Guys, just first thoughts on the match, really, Ross?
It was tight, John. Yeah, no, it was tight. I don't know if it was quite as one-sided as Brian Rice has made out in his post-match.
I did hear that, yeah.
I thought it was a tight game. It could have went either way. But do you know what? We took our chances. Some good goalkeeping as well. I'm not going to lie to you. I missed the first goal because it was approaching half-time, and I thought I'm going to drain the pub out of me, and I heard the cheer, and I was like, typical.
Oh no, you would not have lived that down, presumably, for the rest of the match.
Well, that's it. I went back out, and they were all just clapping, and so I didn't see the first goal, but what an absolute belter of a header from Roman for the second one, and for me, yeah, well deserved through. I'm chuffed.
What about you, John? What do you make of it?
I'll be quite honest with you. I thought, especially in the first half, Alloa were the better team. They were pushing a lot more than us. And Ross is talking about the good goalkeeping. What about the one that DJ passed out to the Alloa player and nearly scored?
Yeah, that wasn't great. That's right.
Oh, we'll see that in the highlights. That's crazy. He just kicked it to him in the penalty area.
You know that, John. That's a shout, actually. And I wonder if the new keeper had been signed a bit earlier in the week. I wonder if he may have started the game.
Do you think he's been brought in as number one, Brian Kinnear, then? Or do you think, he's just there for backup? Well, obviously, we talked about earlier on about Paddy Martin going out, Ross. But do you think Brian Kinnear's there as a number one? Certainly, there's been question marks over Paddy, and I don't think those were answered particularly yesterday. I don't think, from what I've seen on the highlights and what I've heard, that he particularly painted himself in glory yesterday.
He had a couple of decent shots stopped, John, but his distribution again. So as John mentioned, his distribution wasn't great at points. And in terms of answering your other question, no, I think we've signed the lad from West Ham to be the first choice keeper. Similarly with Hogarth. Granted, with Hogarth it was slightly different because it was forced upon us through injury in Morrison. But no, I can see this boy being number one.
Yeah. Do you think the goalkeeper was at fault slightly for the first goal? John, do you think he could have held it?
Not really. No, it was the way it came and it was across, and the big tall lad was there just to tap it into the net. No, it was poor defensive, I think. Defensively, it was quite poor.
Brad Mackay, then, the fault being laid at his door, then, Ross?
Yeah, we were standing up the far end, John, towards the Alloa end, if I'm being honest, in the first half, so we didn't get a massively great view of it. But in terms of, it just looked like a defensive cock-up, which we've been prone to every now and again. I actually thought Morrison could have done better. I don't think it was the hardest shot when you look back at the it wasn't the hardest shot in the world, and he's obviously spilled it, and the big fella was never going to miss for there. So Dragutin Ristic would have missed from there back in the 90s, but no, he was never missing that.
Yeah, so 1-0 down, and then there's a big shout. We've not had a penalty, as we've discussed. Well, since in the last cup game we got a penalty then, but in the league we've not had one since last year. But then there's a big shout when Blaine Roll went forward on goal. What did you make of it, Ross? Was that a penalty or not?
Standout penalty for me. And literally just an hour before we're recording this, I had a look at the Alloa highlights, and it was interesting that their commentators both thought it was a penalty as well, and almost stopped themselves. from saying as much. But no, I thought it was a stick-on penalty. Am I shocked we didn't get it? No. And I hate to say it because it feels like so old firm mentality, but we're not getting the rub of the green with these penalties. Like I know Celtic not getting any VAR decisions, and then they get two in a week, but that's just not going to happen with us, really.
John, do you agree? You didn't say anything but a penalty.
Oh, yes, it was a penalty. And if you watch the Falkirk highlights when Lewis slows down the play, his feet were taken away from him. The guy wiped him out. I don't understand how the referee was so close and could say, play on. That was the most blatant one I've seen this season.
I'm honestly, see when I saw the replay, I think he nicked the ball before he took the man.
Think
that looks like it. I'll be honest with you, when I look to the back of the replay, I think, I like a good tackle, and I actually think he nicked the ball away. And I'm getting, everyone else seems to disagree with me, but I thought
you'll be applying for your referee's license next.
We didn't get the penalty, but there we go. We got back in the game. Really good work from McCann on the left. Rossi obviously missed this, but Leo McCann sent a great crossover to the back post. And why was Brad Mackay there? Can anyone explain why Brad Mackay was up front at that point?
I don't know, but he took the goal really well. He got his head in, he headed it down and away for the goalkeeper. It was never going to miss. It was a superb header for him. That's the best game I've seen him play whenever he's been on. Because he rarely starts the game, but I thought he was one of the better players yesterday.
Ross.
I thought he did as well. I thought he did okay yesterday, John. As John just mentioned, I missed the goal due to the aforementioned toilet. But that's maybe where Brad Mackay was heading. He was thinking he was going heading to the gents, and he's just found himself.
But yeah, I mean, obviously our big physical side, two big boys up front. Connor Salmon looks like he looks like a different player from what we had. Here's a question for you: would you take Connor Salmon back at this point? Do you think in a team like we have now, Connor Salmon would do well? I think he probably would.
I wouldn't take him back. No, once you've gone.
I probably see on the basis that we've seen him here. I don't know if I would, but see if the Connor Salmon who I thought we were signing is actually he's kind of doing that job now for Alloa, isn't he?
Yeah,
because he's putting himself about. He is scoring goals, and he's scored a decent number of goals. I'd hope for better than Connor Salmon now, though.
Right. Okay.
But it's a tough one because he's putting himself about, and he's lost a bit of weight as well. He looks more lean. Who was the big fella that was up beside him?
Donnelly.
To be fair, he wasn't great either. He was just there, and he just kind of put himself about. So I think Mackay and Mackie actually did really well against the two of them.
Yeah, I guess it's that kind of game suits Brad Mackay because he does like roughing it up. He is a big unit as well, Brad Mackay. He doesn't get shipped off the ball easily, so that's the kind of game I guess he thrives in when he's coming up against strikers like Salmon and Donnelly in that. We go on 1-1. Alloa had their chances though. Looking back at the highlights, certainly Alloa certainly had their chances. McGinn had one off the line as well. Connor Salmon had a snapshot as well, which Morrison saved really, really well. But I guess, the complaints, they didn't take their chances. Possession-wise, looking at the possession, they had more possession than us, which, is a rarity for a Falkirk team this season. Were you uncomfortable at any point, guys?
Quite a lot of the time I was uncomfortable in the first half, especially when they got the goal. I thought, get another one here and we're really going to struggle.
Yeah, and Ross, you felt the same?
First half, John, definitely. Probably not so much in the second half, but definitely the first half. They didn't score against the run of play. It was them that was in the ascendancy and then scored, and you're thinking, oh, great, here we go. But the first half was quite uncomfortable, and I'm glad we went in at the break level, to be honest.
Yeah. So we come out second half, look a lot better, did we? No changes, not a lot of immediate changes. I mean, it took a wee while for him to get, but 66 minutes until Oliver was subbed off for Burrow? Because obviously he started with an unchanged side from the last few weeks. Because I guess the mentality.
I wonder if he's maybe giving them a bit of a bollocking at half time, John, because I thought there might have been a sub, but he's maybe just went in them at half time and to see if he got a reaction, and I think he did. I think he did get a reaction. It was definitely the right sub to bring Burrow on as well. Not that we had a lot of choice in terms of who was going to come on for Oliver. It was definitely always going to be Burrow. And I'm glad he did, because I hate to be this guy, because I'm sounding like a negative Norman now about Gary Oliver. He is doing a job, and I get what John McGlynn's doing. He's using him as a bit of a workhorse, tiring out the defenders and stuff like that, and then bringing Burrow on, and it is working. But he never looks like scoring, and he never looks like he's in a position to score, and it almost feels like we're wasting time having him. So I do think if we get another forward in, I think Gary Oliver will either be in midfield or he'll be on the bench, because it'll either be another or Burrow up front.
Yeah, John, what do you make of Gary Oliver?
I wasn't impressed with him at all. He's supposed to be signed as a striker. I mean, you look at the formation, he's our lone striker, but he's not able to score the goals. I was always also a bit disappointed in Morrison. Just the guy, when he was going up the right wing, was the guy that obviously had him watching and knew what to do. I don't know why he didn't keep switching from right to left and trying to change it a bit. Because he's done that often at the Falkirk Stadium. I'm not getting it out the right, I'll try the left, but it was rigidly up the right side the whole game.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just because we've got a more natural winger over the other side than Kai now that he doesn't do that, John. But I know exactly what you mean. Obviously, Callum Morrison, though, big assist for Burrow's goal. Another great ball over from the right-hand side. And I'd like to say, Ross, front post, done his man, and a brilliant header from Romain Burrow, and another one for the Burrow collection.
Burrow collection has been added to. Really sexy cross in as well. I think it was Blaine Rowe that had the ball prior to that, and he was looking at his options. And Morrison wasn't running through. He still had three men in front of him. So that in terms of Morrison, the ball he put over was fantastic, but the run and the header from Burrow, and when you watch it back as well, like that was a decent celebration behind the goals for the Burns fans too, because you knew it meant a lot to get that goal in front, and I think it had been coming, but I don't think we were going to look back after that. I think between the players and the fans, we knew we were going to go on and win that game.
Did you always feel that as well? Once we got the goal,
well, I take my oldest grandson to football with me. He goes with me, and I says to him, I says, Owen, what's going to be the score today? He says, 2-1 Falkirk.
So there you go. Owen had it right. So once you got once you got their noses in head, there was no coming back from that from Awa, do you think?
No, I don't think so.
No, it's a bit worrying at the end, I have to say, when there was that scramble in the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, there was a stramash at the end, wasn't there? But we defended a lot better in the second half. I think the bollocking they got at half time, John, it definitely probably gave them a wee kick up the backside. I know we shouldn't need it, but Alloa they were always going to be up for it, and they were, and it was a one-off cup tie. Glad to get through. Obviously, the draw's now been made, as we know. So, and it'll be a tough tie against Darvel because Aberdeen are ranked low.
I mean, I think we're right here from John McGlynn, but he made a very valid point that, we've not been doing this, winning games when we've not been at our best. When we've not been at our best, we've been dropping points in the league. Could this be, that's us 4 wins on the spin now. The momentum's certainly going. This is a good thing that we aren't winning games when we've started to win games when we're not at our best, because judging by your comments, judging by what we've read online, we weren't at our best yesterday. So could this be an integral part to the rest of the season, Ross?
I really hope so, buddy, and I think we're going to need it, because we're not going to play well every single week between now and May. We are going to come a cropper at times in terms of it's just not happening for us, and we are going to need to put the ball in the net when we're not at our best. So, and unless something changes within the squad in the next 10 days, I'm not convinced we're going to have another 3-4 guys come in that in terms of the numbers that have left. So we might just be one or two. And if that's the case, they need to come in and hit the ground running. But we just need to keep picking up the points. Granted, obviously, and in the cup, if the farthest we can go, the better from a financial point of view as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, maybe a wee bit of payday against Aberdeen as well. Let's hear then from the manager, John McGowan.
John, it may not have been the prettiest start to the game, but ultimately we showed a good resilience today and we got the job done.
That's a significant win. That's a massive win today. So we weren't at our best. And when we're not at our best, we normally get beat. We normally have to play well to win. And that's a characteristic that's been missing. Winning a game when you're not at your best. We had to dig in. Alloa, 3 big players up top, between Salmon, McIver and Donnelly. Playing up to them. Difficult. So I'm delighted that Brad came in. Won headers, won a lot of headers. It was really good between him and Sean, We switch off for the goal. So can he throw in, played inside, round the corner. We're no probably tight enough. And the way it breaks, he managed to get a shot and goal, which PD makes a really good save. But other defenders don't help out to get the ball away. They react to it. I thought we started to play after that. I thought the opening 20 minutes weren't really great, although Kai went through very, very early. Within the first 2 or 3 minutes, Kai was through, the goal makes a save. Hendos went in behind him and put a great ball across the face of the goal, just needed a touch at the back post. And so we could have went 1 or 2 up, in the first 5 minutes of the game. But after that, we weren't great. So significant to get the goal when we did. And one of the few bits of football that we played to get in behind them and get a good ball in. And Brad Nakai was there to head it in. So to go in at 1 each at half time was probably very, very significant for us, and probably was a bit of a blow for Alloa. We probably maybe deserved to be in front, but we had balls across the face of the goals and we had other opportunities ourselves. And then again, second half, we've had to show a different character where we've got to battle and win the game in a different way, but there still was the way we'd normally do it. We've got the ball down the outside of them, we've got in behind them, we've got across in the box, and the Martin coming on, gets a header and scores a winner for us. And so winning on a day where we're not at our best is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, because we've been waiting on that missing ingredient. As I say, we normally have got to play really well to win. And we've not been great today, but we've won, and that's something that we are not really used to doing. So I'm absolutely delighted at that. It's 4 wins in a row. It breeds confidence. It gives the players another boost, that they know that they can win games even maybe when they're not at their best. So delighted for everyone who was here, delighted for the fans. All right, it's not a lot of travel today, but thank you very much for the back end. I don't know how many was here, but it seemed like a big following today. Thanks very much. We look forward to the draw. You probably look forward to the draw as well tomorrow sometime, or maybe Monday night, I'm not sure. But thanks for your backing today. And I'm absolutely delighted. We've got an opportunity now. Hopefully we can get a home draw. We've had a couple of away games, albeit there's not enough like travelling here, but we've had a couple of away games. It'd be nice to get a cup tie at the Falkirk Stadium.
Unfortunately, it wasn't to be, and we're either away to Aberdeen or Darvel, which I think leads us to about 5 away games in a row, Ross.
It's something like that. It's going to be an expensive month. There's only the one home game in February. I think it might be Alloa again. So yeah, it's an expensive time. But I like how John always thanks the fans.
Right, yeah.
I like that. If you think about some of the shysters we've had as managers over the last few years, granted, not so much your Millers and your McCrackens, but I'm thinking your Hartley and McKinnon. They never ever talked about the fans or the importance of the fans and getting them involved. John's good at that. And he's right, there was a brilliant crowd there. I think it was just under 1,100 out of the 1,500 were Falkirk fans. So absolutely phenomenal. And I know it's not far, 14, 15 mile or whatever it is, but people still had to put their hands in their pocket. It wasn't a ticket game that's a freebie. So really, really massive crowd yesterday.
What do you make about what he had to say, John?
It was really honest about how the game was. It wasn't our best performance, but at the end of the day, it's about winning. Football's about winning.
Yeah.
But as I said, I did feel Alaba was kind of hard done by. And it's not just because I'm only a 20-minute walk away from their stadium. They played well. I've spoken to Brian Rice not that long ago, and he's really turned them round.
Yeah.
He certainly has. Let's see what our supporters are saying to the game. John kicks us off, and our John saying one of the season's poorer performances, but we still won the game and are in the draw for the next round. Unlike them, I wonder who them might be.
We know who he's talking about. Yep. David says can't decide whether Burrell should be starting or if McGlynn is spot on and bringing on a hungry striker with a point to prove against tired legs. Either way, bring on the Jambos. I think that was worse.
That was previous to the Aberdeen draw. On the Burrell Oliver situation, I mean, John McGlynn talked about, Oliver runs. He, like you say, Ross, softens up the defence for Burrell to come on. What are you thinking though? Would you start Burrell or Oliver against Edinburgh, or do you not change the team because we're going so well?
He'll probably not change the team, if I'm being honest, John, unless he signs a striker this week that is a proven striker.
What about the goalie? I don't think he'll change the goalie unless.
I think.
I don't know.
I think if he's got the goalkeeper in training all week, getting to know the defence, I think that's the only reason he didn't play yesterday, because he was signed. Well, I assume he was signed later on Friday, so he's probably not met much of the team. But I don't think we've signed a boy from West Ham, and we're not going to play him.
Yeah. Sam says the character shown to win this yesterday speaks volumes for the mentality of this team. To go one down to a team taking the game to us and then get the win is as good as a 4-0 for me. Very good point. Hopefully this is the start of a solid run of wins for promotion now.
Indeed. Brian says great battling performance. So good to be able to say that. Fantastic header for Roman for the winner.
It was a very, very good header. Derek, today was not a day to play out from the back. We struggled with Alloa's press. We never won a second ball all day. Surely Burrell has stated a claim for starting against Edinburgh. I mean, 2 goals off the bench in 2 weeks.
True. The stats would suggest that Burrell should be the main man up top, but the tactic that we're using is obviously working, so that might be the reason why he doesn't change it, unless we do sign a recognised striker, as is the rumour this week. Gordon says Burrell's come on, scored in the last 2 games, just as you said, John. He's great at running against tired defensive legs. McGlynn's tactics here are spot on.
There you go. No one can agree on this. Harry weighs in as well. God knows why Gary Oliver keeps on starting. Don't know what John sees in him apart from running around like a headless chicken. Hashtag justice for Burrell.
That's the other side of the coin. X says great result and good performance after a shaky first 20. Mackay excellent. Rowe a threat again. Defo penalty first half. Went through Rowe's right leg before getting the ball. And Burrell must start. Much bigger threat when he came on, and a good finish.
There you go. I think we should maybe run a poll this week, Ross, on our
Twitter. So.
And see what people think, because everyone seems to be split on this Burrell Oliver situation. So we'll run a poll on our Twitter this week. So look out for that.
We'll put it to end on Thursday night, John, and then we'll text John McGlynn and say, "There you go, that's your team for Saturday."
Yeah, well, I'm sure he'll take our viewpoints on board.
I think he'll phone and go, "Fuck off."
Max says great win. Hopefully get a big cup tie for money. I mean, Aberdeen, it was certainly going to bring us a bit of cash. And Brad Mackay is a great goal threat for a defender, especially his position for his goal. Let's beat Edinburgh on Saturday.
Yeah. The only thing I'd say to that, John, is Aberdeen look really, really poor. And
you fancy our chances?
Well,
I mean, it might be Darvel.
See if it was at see if the game tomorrow night was at Pittodrie. I think it would be a stick on Aberdeen one. But that ground packed out. The pitch might not be great. Aberdeen are on a real downward spiral just now. I think if Darvel score, the Dons fans will just turn on that squad. And this has got Stennismuir from 1995 written all over it, in my opinion. So it might be Darvel. Stuart says, pre-McGlynn, exactly the type of game we would have lost, having been behind and were poor for most of the game. This keeps the momentum going. It does indeed.
It does indeed. And Willie Stroker, who left us last week with Alloa will get cummed on, finally leaves us with Alloa got cummed on. So there we go. There we go. So that's the thoughts of you guys out there. I'd like to say it'll be interesting to see where we land this Oliver Burrow situation. You're both in the Oliver camp or in the Burrow camp for starting against Edinburgh?
Burrow.
Burrow for John.
I would start Burrow, but I think it'll be Oliver.
You think it'll be? Yeah. Right, okay. Right, okay. From yesterday's match, then I'll leave it up to you guys. Who is your Falkirk Daft rated player?
I was very pleased with Mackay's efforts yesterday. I thought he played really well. Ross said there about his mistake at the first goal. I didn't really quite see that because I was sitting in the tent and there was a pole in my way and I didn't actually see that, but it was the guy tapping the ball in. That was what I saw. But I thought Mackay was excellent.
Right. Brad Mackay for John. Ross.
I'm going to go Blaine Rowe. I thought he was fantastic yesterday. He was up and down the wing. Good link-up play with Morrison as well. Really unlucky with the running at the box because I think he was going to just about to pull the trigger. But he just looks like a solid right back, and he's been actually pretty good the last few games that he's played. But I thought yesterday was fantastic.
Okay, I'm going to go with John though because Brad Mackay got the goal, and I think from what I saw in the highlights, he did against two big physical defenders. He did really well, and we've got obviously Cole Donaldson's going to be out for next week as well. So Brad Mackay and Sean Mackey are likely to start there again in there as well. Right, okay, Falkirk Dafty, who's getting it this week?
Oliver.
Gary Oliver, I think, has definitely picked up a few of these this season.
I'm going to say Gary Oliver as well, to be honest.
Yeah.
He runs about a lot, and it's obviously working in terms of the tactic for it, but he's not pretty to watch, and he never looks like scoring. So I'm going to say Gary Oliver.
Right, Gary Oliver, all round then.
Job in the team, but it's not the scoring goals. I mean, you look at our lineup; he's our main striker in the first half of every match, and he's not scoring the goals.
No, he's not.
As we talked about last week, he doesn't
actually get into positions though, as well. It's not just the fact that whenever he has a chance, he doesn't take it. He's very rarely in a position for having a goal.
I think it's because he works so hard and he drops constantly. And as we saw in last week's podcast, he's a 10 and not a 9, and we need a 9 in the system and the formation that we play in. Oh well, then Gary Oliver, poor Gary's had a few of these Falkirk Dafties recently. Right, okay. Well, listen, John, thank you so much for coming on. Our oldest guest pundit so far. Great to have your experience and knowledge on here, John.
But there was one other thing I wanted to ask the two of you.
Right, this should be interesting.
Of what's been going on at the games. When Kelty came to Falkirk and Queen of the South came to Falkirk, they used the electronic substitution board. Why don't we use it? Why is it bits of paper?
I think I know the answer to this one, John.
Oh, come on, Ross.
I think I know the answer to this one.
We've not got one.
Well, we don't have one.
We sold it on eBay.
Yeah. I believe you do need to hire those from the SPFL.
Do you really?
There's a cost to have it. Now, I can be stand corrected, but I'm pretty certain I heard that a few years back that you need to hire those from the SPFL. So if you don't have one, you don't have one, and you just need to shout your pal over. But some of the teams who obviously do want to pay for it have these electronic scoreboards, substitution boards.
Right, well, here's my suggestion for Falkirk Andorra. Bring back the old slates with the numbers.
Oh, yeah, do you remember you used to bang them?
You used to get the old subs, the old clap at the board to let the referee know there's a sub coming on, get the numbers up. So let's all invest in that. If you have to hire them out, let's save Falkirk a bit of money here. We'll all chip together. We'll get the slates with the numbers on, and then we'll bring that back. What do we say to that?
I'm happy with that, John.
As long as people don't have ridiculous squad numbers. That's it.
Like for Kai Kennedy, you need to hold up a 7 and a 3.
Right, so we're going to have to have like 10 lots, and so we're going to have to get 0 to 10 and 0. Right, okay. So we'll get that sorted out. Well, listen, John. Hopefully that question has been answered. You have to hire the electronic scoreboard, according to Ross. So I wonder how much it costs to hire it.
No idea.
Well, let's investigate this, Ross. I'm going to phone up the SPFL tomorrow. I'm looking to hire an electronic scoreboard for substitutions. How much does it cost?
I just feel if Kelty are doing it and Queen of the South are doing it, a club of our standing, why are we not doing it all?
You didn't need it. It's a waste of money, John. We're skint at the moment. I'd rather have a striker in the door than an electronic scoreboard. There we go. But there we go. Right, John, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for allowing me on. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Good to chat to you, John. Good to chat to you. And if you want to be like John and pop on Falkirk Daft, give us a shout on Twitter, Facebook, or you can drop us an email, falkirkdaftpod@gmail.com.
This is Falkirk Daft.
Russell Latapy is coming to the Dobby Hall this summer. Yes, you've heard it here. Russell Latapy with Falkirk Daft. We are going to be supporting the event, which is happening in June the 22nd. It's going to be a night with Russell Latapy at the Dobby Hall. The legend is back in town. The Little Magician is coming back to Falkirk. And on Falkirk Daft, we have 2 Hall of Fame packages to give away. If you want to get tickets for the event, you can check out eltevents.live or check out the links below. But right now, we've got a Hall of Fame package to give away, Ross. And what do you get in that?
Yes, it's a really, really good package for that, John. So early entry to the venue at the Dobby Hall, access to the VIP room, which will come with a complimentary welcome drink too. You'll enjoy a hot fork buffet.
What's a hot fork buffet? Is it just you get a fork and there's hot food and you just go on with the fork?
I think so, like chicken wings and chicken nuggets and
I like chicken wings.
Probably. Maybe some Trinidadian like jerk chicken or something like that.
I'd like that.
So yes, you'll enjoy a hot fork buffet,
rice and peas,
of Russell, and some current and past Falkirk stars as well. There'll be a meet.
Yogi's going to be there, isn't he? Yogi's going to be doing.
You would hope so. You would hope so. That would be kind of cool if Yogi was there. There'll be a meet and greet, obviously, with Russell, including a professional photo that you'll receive too. A print signed and personalised by the wee man himself. And last but not least, a Falkirk 2006 style retro shirt signed and personalised on the night by Russell Latapy. So lots of good prizes there.
Class. And you can win it right now. We've been asking you for the last 2 weeks to get your questions, which you would ask Russell into us. And the best one, as decided by me and Ross, will be winning that package. And it's time to just about give it away. But first of all, let's go through some of the questions that have flown in this week. Elsa, who was a guest pundit a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, says, who was the best player he played beside at Falkirk? And if he had to make his favourite 11 of the players he played with from Falkirk, Hibs and Rangers, which Falkirk players would he choose?
Yeah,
good question.
Very good question. Stevie Beveridge, who many of us will know, what would you do if someone gave you nicotine patches for Christmas?
We think we all will know what would happen with that. They'd be in the bin.
Kick off.
Scott says, Russell, Rangers, Hibs or Falkirk. Simple as that.
Be a tough one. Well, I think we could discount
Rangers.
We could discount Rangers, obviously. Gala Scott says, hi guys, question for Russell. Which do you think reached the higher temperature? Yogi's heat during a hairdryer treatment at half time or the flames from the BP when training at Little Kerse?
Nice one. Got Gavin, he says, when was his favourite time that the team carried his piano? Now, I don't know what that means. It's either a story that Gavin knows about people carrying a piano for Russell. I don't know if he is a piano player, Russell. He might be a piano player. Or is he just referring to the fact that Russell carried the team most of the time?
Well, that's very true. That's true. Yeah. I know we ran through a few last week, but we've got a couple of other new ones too. We've got Barry Sutherland says, so a question for the wee little Trinidad and Tobago magician. The name Denzel Theobald, there were stories going around at the time, I'm sure, saying you played a part in us signing him, guy. What went wrong? Why did he never play for us? He was good enough to play for his country in a World Cup, yet deemed not good enough to play for the Bairns. Please tell us all, Russell.
That's a miss. I'd love to know the answer to that.
I would as well.
It's a mystery. He played all the games at the World Cup for Trinidad and Tobago. Russell obviously only came off the bench in the last game for 20 minutes, and by the way, was unaffected. The game was brilliant. But that's a great question. And finally, James Miller popped in as a question. James, another former guest pundit, says, "Is it true that the smoke alarms were turned off in the changing room at the Falkirk Stadium so you could smoke a cigar in the bath?"
I'd love that to be true.
Yeah.
Really? I would love that to be true.
Love it. But there can be only one winner. So thank you, everyone, for all your questions that you've got in over the last couple of weeks. But it's been really hard. I think me and Ross have been talking about it. And he was the one to beat last week. and I don't know if any of the questions this week are beating him, so I'm going to have to give it to Grant Plenderleaf, who asked the question: if cigarettes were about to go extinct and you had one left in your 20 deck, who would you share your last draw with and why? Love that question. We'll definitely have to ask that on the night. So well done, Grant. You've got 2 Hall of Fame tickets to come and see Russell at the Dobby Hall on the 22nd of June with Falkirk Daft. So thanks very much for that. Hopefully, we never know, we might have some more tickets to give away nearer the time.
You never know.
So, but yeah, if you want to get your tickets, you want to join Grant and us down there on the night, check out the links below and you can get them from eltevents.live.
This is Falkirk Daft.
Every week on Falkirk Daft, we like to invite a guest of our next opponent onto the podcast. Now, we spoke to Ali earlier on in the season from the Citizen Supporters Club, and today I'm glad to welcome to Falkirk Daft, it's Bob Fallon. How you doing, Bob?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on. Pleasure to be here.
No problem.
Yeah, signed up member of the Citizen Supporters Club. FC Edinburgh, let's just talk about them. They've come out, I mean, surprised everyone in this league, Bob. And have they surprised you?
Yes. Very short and sweet, yes. I think when we got promoted, really speaking amongst any of us, it was, as long as we come 8th, we'll be happy. To be kind of sitting where we are is a phenomenal achievement so far. And obviously listening to the gaffer, he was talking about the points totals for being in the playoffs and how Montrose have been in the playoffs most of the seasons that they've been there. And at the same point, their highest ever total was 30 and we were on 32. So we're kind of ahead of what you would expect, maybe like a Montrose or something to be. So where we are is a phenomenal achievement. We're really happy. Progress on the pitch is certainly beyond what we expected.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, I mean, you're surprised. The league's turnaround is surprised. I mean, you're the highest scorers in the league with 43 goals. We're just one behind you, but I would say we've got 2 games in hand as well, Bob. But I mean, we're leveling points with you at the moment, and it's, apart from maybe a hiccup in the last 2 games, he's been absolutely flying. What are you putting it down to?
Good question. I think we've got a manager who very much knows what he's doing. To put a finer point out there, you know, I think Mabes has got a way of setting up the team that suits what he's got. Certainly you can tell the team play for each other as well, which is something maybe we didn't at the beginning of the season, last season, maybe we didn't quite have that. But since he's come in, he's been a revelation. You can see how things are organised, the look set up, you know, tactics-wise, everything just looks kind of right for what we're trying to do. Some of the guys' performances have probably been a lot better than we expected. You know, Danny Handlin's improved again. I'm a big fan of Danny anyway, as he well knows. But he's kind of kicked on a wee bit again this year. He's shown a bit of maturity, maybe than previous years, which you're probably the first to say. John Robertson's a live wire up front. He's tough to handle for a lot of defences. So it's just kind of keeping that, and we're good at keeping our shape and all that kind of stuff. So picking up points against the part-time teams has helped a lot. It's just having that wee bit of consistency against those teams that I think has made a big difference for us being promoted.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Daniel Handling and John Robertson there. I mean, 25 goals between them this season. I mean, that's a great return for 2 players.
Absolutely. I know Danny's always quite keen to try and get at least 10 goals a season. He's already well past that at this point already. Robo as well. I mean, everybody else has chipped in with goals. It's been a bit of a team effort. So Shanley's chipped in with a few, Uzi's chipped in with a few. And it's just making sure we can kind of keep that going, that consistency going with these kind of guys, and hopefully we kind of keep that squad together up past the window and keep that going, and we should be okay, hopefully.
Behind the scenes, we'll talk about a wee bit behind the scenes, because we spoke to Ali at the start of the season, Bob, about this. It was a bit of a mess. I mean, the supporters from the outside looking in weren't treated very well by the club, and obviously they had all the fallout from the social club aspect, the name change, the move to Meadowbank. How is the club settled now behind the scenes?
I think it's a lot better than what it was. I was part of the group along with Ali and a couple of other guys, Rooney and Ash, who had meetings with the board about what had happened. And we were very forthright. Those meetings were very clear and what we were kind of upset about. And the team, to the credit, the club listened. You know, the cost of going to Meadowbank for how it is and what you have as a fan experience. The name change, we got kind of apology out of that and so on. Everything seems a wee bit more settled. There's obviously some people who are upset, and I totally get that. I mean, when it comes to the name, I'm still not particularly happy, but it's one of those things that we're just going to have to deal with, I think. I don't think anybody at that time came out looking good. Nobody did. I don't think the board did. I don't think the social club did. We had our own problems with the social club, obviously, with our very public problems with the board, but I think everything's starting to settle down. Meadowbank is still an issue. It was never really meant to be like this. Meadowbank was meant to be a big homecoming. It was a spiritual home until I had to go to Ainsley Park in Gownshire because essentially the council tore down Meadowbank. We were never meant to be going back. We had no input in the plans. We obviously got planning permission for a stand on the opposite from the main building.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to happen anytime soon because of issues with the developers that are building houses at the back at that part of the stadium. I mean, if that stand had been built, a lot of the issues for how Meadowbank would be as a fan experience would be considerably lessened than what we've got right now. And obviously, it's a bit more difficult for the bigger teams like yourselves and Dunfermline who come with huge, big, massive supports. A lot of sympathy with you guys having to stand quite far away. I don't.
Bob, they've brought it in now, haven't they? Though, in terms of behind the goals, anyway, they've brought it in slightly.
So what they've done is that they've got it's kind of like barriers, so you can stand behind the goal.
Right.
There didn't seem to be many complaints for Dunfermline fans on social media or anything like that. So I'm assuming they were happy enough. Yeah. But it's one of those things. If you can explain to people why we have these problems, I think a lot of people are quite accepting of it. I mean, a lot of this is just out with our control.
Yeah.
You know, like we were going in as tenants to Meadowbank, not really knowing what we were getting and expecting that stand to be built. There's nowhere else really in Edinburgh for us to go.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can't get a plot of land for ourselves because it's difficult to get.
The land value in Edinburgh it's not going to make it possible, is it?
I mean, it's the same for many sports clubs around the country. It's not just us. I mean, I'm a Speedway fan. I'm an Edinburgh Monarchs fan. They had problems with West Lothian Council trying to get a new plot of land for a new stadium. Do you know? I just think it's how councils and government are set up in the country anyway. They make it as difficult as possible. I know Edinburgh Council in particular. You ask any resident, they are, unless it's rugby, they are particularly difficult with sports teams, whether that be football or ice hockey or whatever. They kind of just make it challenging for everybody. So
we know how that feels, Bob, because Falkirk Council literally see the football club as a bit of a cash cow, I think, in terms of the stadium income and what have you. But that's a frustration, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And we know, we had our previous problems when we were at Meadowbank before, with the council could be difficult. Well, technically it's Edinburgh Leisure who are arm's length for the council, but it's still funded by the council. We know the difficulties other people have with them. We've heard on the grapevine, because I stay pretty much next to Meadowbank, so you hear a lot of locals talking about what goes on with other sports clubs that are apparently having trouble with them as well. So it's not just us. It just so happens that we're probably the biggest name that's going to be there. We've got ourselves in a league that we're probably a couple of years ahead of where we should have been, and we're left in a position that's made it really difficult for us. So the club are doing their best to try and get a lot better as what they can, but it is going to be difficult. And should the unthinkable happen and we perhaps go up through the playoffs into the championship, the Meadowbank's just not going to be fit for purpose. We're just going to have to find somewhere else. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, I think.
How long's the lease, or how long's the agreement with Meadowbank, Bob?
As far as I know, it's just ongoing.
Yeah. Would it, looking obviously over, you're talking about the rugby sides there, would it be, they've just built, obviously, Edinburgh have just set up the stadium at the side of Murrayfield there. I mean, would that be doable, or is rugby and a football pitch not going to work really with obviously the churn up on the grass?
Well, it's an artificial pitch, I believe.
Oh, is it really?
At Murrayfield.
That could. I mean, because that's got a decent capacity, I believe, as well.
It has. There might be a problem with the markings, because obviously you've got to paint them on.
Yeah. Thistle did that. The Thistle shared with Glasgow for a wee while, didn't they?
Aye, and I think we used to share years before I was going with Edinburgh Rugby because they were at Meadowbank previously as well. So I think in terms of markings on an artificial pitch, it's a bit more difficult. Looking at the stadium itself, it's probably better than Meadowbank, but it's not great either. It just looks like 4 gazebos, if I'm being honest.
It does, yeah.
I think, without trying to break too much at me after, I think it would maybe have been an outside chance of us going there, but I don't think that's going to happen. That was before we went to Meadowbank, obviously. So, I mean, there's other places in Edinburgh you could try, but it's difficult trying to get a foothold in there, and other sports clubs have got their own interests. The council have got theirs, and you just have to kind of take what you're given, unfortunately, and that's where we are just now.
Well, let's get onto the football side of things. I mean, like you said, absolutely flying. Alan Maybury and Mark Kerr, who obviously we know as Falkirk supporters, having both played for the club and been in the coaching roles at the club as well. They've done a great job. What's the kind of style that's they've got set up over there, Bob? I mean, we played you at the start of the season. We played you at home, and to be honest with you, without going over the top, we kind of. It's been quite easy for us in those 2 games. I felt it was easy, yet you look at how Edinburgh have done elsewhere and you're just flying. What kind of style of play have Maybury and Kerr installed into Edinburgh?
It really depends on who we're playing, I think.
I mean, certainly against us at Falkirk Stadium, it was very much, let's just sit in and see if we can get away with something here. And we managed to. We had recently played Dunfermline before that, so we were able to we sussed that out quite early on. So does it? Obviously, they changed tactically for who they're facing then.
I mean, yes. I mean, like a record. Let's not beat about the bush here. A record against the full-time clubs. I'm not including Airdrie because they're a hybrid. Is absolutely dreadful. We've scored 1 goal in 8 or 9 games and conceded about 20. So it's not been particularly good. So I don't know if the style of holding in and trying to hit the counter or anything like that has been particularly great. I mean, we play a very basic kind of 4 at the back. Sometimes, it depends on what kind of personnel we've got. But the last couple of games, we've had 4 at the back, kind of 2 at the midfield, 2 slightly higher up, and then another 2 in the middle, 2 strikers in the middle. And that's generally how we've played for quite a lot of the games that the ones I've attended anyway. And it can be quite knock around the ball, be kind of expansive if they need to be. Other times it'll just be sitting in. I mean, the game against Alloa at Meadowbank, we were 3-0 down within 10 minutes. And then we had to come out, and then we won 4-3 by coming out and making sure we were attacking and going on the front foot. I think what the gaffer's been trying to say, and he's said in the kind of press conferences, we just need a bit more belief sometimes against the bigger teams, as actually just go out and try and get in the front foot a little bit, rather than saying, right, this is a big team, we're going to have to sit back, just try and go at them a little bit. I mean, from a fan's perspective, if we're going to get horsed, I would rather we get horsed trying to go for goals rather than sitting back and getting horsed. And I think most football fans, they'd be like that. If we're going to get beat 4-0, we're still going to get beat 4-0, but at least have a goal.
Yeah.
And I think, well, he's never quite said that, but he says we need a wee bit more belief against the bigger teams rather than just maybe getting a bit nervous or sitting back and just asking for wave after a wave of attack. Now, we expect as a fan, I guess, for the bigger teams to be on the front foot a little bit more. That's just football, regardless of what level you're at. But I think sometimes it'd be nice if we just opened up just a little bit more and try and do that. But we'll have to see how that goes if you can get that for Saturday.
Yeah. You've lost the boys back on loan as we have. We lost Juan Alegria back to Rangers, and you've lost Jack Bryden, Alan Delafay, and I tried to pronounce that really quickly so no one would notice that I really don't know how to pronounce his name. Alan Delafay and Emmanuel Johnson have all went back to Hibs. How big a loss are they going to be for you? And do you see anyone coming in this week ahead of the game?
I think we need bodies in. I don't think that's a doubt. We're short in a couple of positions, I would say. We probably need a backup centre half, maybe another midfielder, and probably a backup right back as well. For all, James Cragen's been playing right back in the absence of Kieran McDonald. He's better probably in the midfield.
Yeah, 7 assists for the season. James Cragen's obviously an RX, and I really like James Cragen at Falkirk as well. But he's obviously weighing in with the assists this season for you.
Yes, I mean, like on Saturday against Alloa, we were particularly poor in the first half. and Kieran McDonald on the left, Craigs on the right, and then we kind of swapped it. We've had Callum Crane moving from midfield to left back and Kieran McDonald slotting in the right, and Craigs in the middle, and that made a massive difference to the game. I mean, that totally changed how we played. We were just a bit better playing and passing, we were a bit better in midfield, we weren't getting overrun or anything like that. So hopefully that's possibly what we're going to do on Saturday. It will really depend on what he decides if he's going to try that again, because Callum Crane's played quite a lot in the middle for all of the season. But we'd have to say, in terms of the three boys leaving, Bryden's probably the biggest loss out of the three. I'm quite a fan of Jack Bryden. He played really well last season until he got injured. Had a shaky start here, but then came onto a game. I'm not going to be too disparaging. I don't think EJ's much of a loss. Del Ferry, I hadn't seen a lot of him. Didn't particularly impress me. I think a lot of the other guys that have been going for most of the season said when he played, he was really, really good. And when he didn't, he was pretty poor. Right. But he'd been injured anyway. I believe he's been going about in a moon boot for the last 5 to 6 weeks. So him going back, I don't think makes a huge amount of difference because he's going to be injured.
You think there'll be more boys coming in from Hibs in terms of loan deals and stuff, Bob?
I mean, obviously we've got the strategic partnership, but even without the strategic partnership, we've always had a decent relationship with Hibs for players coming in on loan. We had Porto, Josh Campbell, these type of guys. Mm-hmm. In terms of loans that we've had over the years since we got promoted, the Hibs loanees have generally been of a better standard.
Yeah.
So there's a possibility. I mean, obviously the loan window closes, was it a month after the transfer window anyway?
That's right, yeah.
So we've still got until the end of February or so for bodies to come in. But I think if we're going to be serious about getting the playoffs, I would expect signings before next week, before the 31st, or whenever the transfer window closes.
So happy with playoffs rather than going for the league? I mean, we obviously as Focus Sports, we need to go for this league, but you're happy to settle for the playoffs rather than going for that championship?
I don't think. I think the championship's.
Don't think you can sustain it. Yeah.
Mainly because of our record against the full-time teams. I mean, if that record had been better, or Dunfermline had started dropping points a bit more, then we could maybe say, and obviously you've got your rivalry with the Pars anyway, but it's one of those. I think the league's maybe just a bit too much, just a little bit too far out of reach. So the playoffs would be a great season, to kind of probably be a bit more pragmatic and sensible about it. Even if we don't get the playoffs, I still think that's a good season.
Yeah.
But because of how we've started, I think the playoffs is really where we should be looking.
I think you'll be there. I think you'll be definitely there. I think so. Before we get to the important part of getting your prediction, the most important part of this chat, Bob, is where are we going to drink on Saturday? Because Aberdeen have got Hibs at Easter Road, so we need to find a pub. The Artisans normally our go-to when we go to Meadowbank or Easter Road, so we need to find a pub that's not got Hibbies, because Hibbies don't like Falkirk supporters, so we're needing to find, so we are going to drink in the city centre and then head out to Meadowbank, or is there anywhere in the vicinity of Meadowbank where we will not get our teeth kicked in?
Right, how are you travelling to the game?
We are training it and walking. I suppose, what time are you getting in? That'll be another question. As early as possible.
As early as possible. Right, okay. If you're wanting a couple of Swifties when you got off the train, you're probably better at somewhere like the Guildford Arms.
Yep, that's what I've suggested. At
the back of the Apple store. If you're then going to walk, it would really depend on what way you walked. The Safari Lounge is okay. It's a little bit of a hipster bar, maybe slightly expensive, but it's a decent bar. It does food as well, and the food I can totally recommend. It's lovely there. There is the Belfield Brewery, which is just off London Road.
Right.
That's a local microbrewery, and the beer is absolutely fantastic.
That sounds good to me. Ross is shaking his head because all he does is drink Tennent's.
Well, if you're only going to drink Tennent's, you're probably going to be struggling at somewhere like the Belfield. But if that would kind of, I mean, if you're going to be here early enough, you could go and sample it. So, I'm trying to think.
There's a pub past right now. We're on Google Maps right, and there's a pub past the ground. Was it Lime something?
Limelight.
The Limelight. What's that? Is that going to be full of hippies, or is that going to be? Will we get in there all right?
You should be all right. It depends how many you're coming, but you should be okay. Limelight's fine. That you'll get a pint of Tennent's there if you want one.
There we go, Ross.
Just average. I mean, you should be fine. Limelight, I drink in there quite a lot anyway. It's a mix of Hearts and Hibs fans. You'll be absolutely fine in there. We go, like, a lot of our guys will probably be there as well before the game for the ones that are going. You'll be grand in there. There's never a bother. Right. And it's only a 5-minute walk after that. So if you want to go there, that'd probably be your safest bet. If you're not going to go like microbrewery, hipster bar or anything like that.
Does Ross look like a hipster to you, Bob?
No, I'm not.
Maybe I'm being slightly disparaging there, but certainly considering like where the area is, I mean, the Hoppy, the Arty, these type of bars are your kind of more traditional type of bars. The Safari Lounge used to be like that until it got taken over a few years back.
Right.
But it's a comfortable wee place to go to. They don't sell tenants, but they do sell some lovely lagers.
There we go.
I've sampled enough of them. As I say, I would pop into the Belfield Brewery just for one, just to try it.
I'm up for that. Right, what's the score going to be on Saturday, Bob?
Good question. I would love to say we'd maybe sneak a draw. If I'm being brutally honest, I'd be surprised if we don't lose about 2-0 or maybe more. So right, okay, I'll not be sensible. I'll say a draw, 1-1.
Good. Ross?
Any win will do, if I'm being honest, John. I know we've got a good record against Edinburgh this year, but it's getting to that.
You just feel like they're going to get one, aren't you? You feel that bad feeling.
Law of averages says you don't win against every team all season. So
especially a team that are sitting in equal points with us.
Yeah, and Robbie Much, I know he listens to this because he's got in touch before. He'll be trying like a bear again. So I think any win will do. I'd take a 1-0. In fact, that's what I'll go with. I'll go 1-0 Berms.
We'll go 1-0, and I'm the same with you. We 1-0 up the road. That would do us quite right. Brilliant. Well, listen, Bob, thank you very much for the pub recommendations. Thanks for a glimpse in behind the scenes at Edinburgh. And we always say when we get to this section, so best of luck on Saturday, but we don't mean that at all.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers, Bob.
Cheers, Bob.
This is Falkirk Daft.
So that's it for this week's Falkirk Daft. Thank you very much for listening. Looking back at Alloa, looking ahead towards Edinburgh on Saturday. Ross, I am looking out for a good day out, I have to say. It's the end of January. Come on, we can finish dry January a couple of days earlier because it's Edinburgh away. Is that right? Yeah.
Listen, that'll be good, John. I think Edinburgh, the last game, from a footballing perspective, was good. It was a good day out as well. Apart from the 3-mile distance between the terrace and the goal line, but it sounds like we're not going to have that issue this time because they've pushed the fans onto the running track. So, so that'll be good. But Edinburgh's always a good day out. Hibs are playing Aberdeen, just as we mentioned, but if Aberdeen continue this run of form, there'll probably be about 7 Aberdeen fans actually at the game. And if I'm being honest, Hibs are on a rank rotten run as well. So that might be a really poor.
Looking ahead to the forecast for Edinburgh on Saturday, it's meant to be dry at the moment with highs of 7. So that's not, I mean, I expect it to be a horrible, horrible day, like freezing cold, but that's actually not bad.
That sounds all right. That's doable. And that wasn't too dissimilar to yesterday. It was maybe 5 or 6 degrees and the rain didn't come until later on in the night. So, fingers crossed that stays the way it is because, as we know, there's absolutely no cover.
Yeah, and as we discussed, we'll probably go. I think we should try this Limelight place, Ross.
That sounds better than the microbrewery because the microbrewery just sounds like.
Well, because the good thing is, we'll pass the Artisan on the way to the Limelight. We'll pass the stadium, and if it's quiet, we can go into the Artisan. But if not, we'll charge onto the Limelight, and we can do that. Guildford Arms for a couple, and then we'll take a wander down. So that's where we'll be at the weekend. If you're about coming along, have a chat with us. We'll have a pint with you. It'd be great to speak to you about the podcast and obviously Falkirk. Please subscribe, rate, review the pod on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Actually, on that as well, we're talking about the Scottish Cup, and I forgot to talk when we're talking about the draw against Aberdeen, which you probably, when you listen to this, you'll know if we're playing Aberdeen or Darvel by this point. It could be the first game at Falkirk have with VAR if it is on the telly. Because Aberdeen obviously have VAR installed all up there, but apparently I've learned further to this because I thought, we've got Aberdeen will be VAR, but the clubs have to both agree to put on VAR if it's not on the telly. If it's on the telly, VAR has to be there, but if it's not on the telly, clubs both have to chip in to.
I wonder how much it costs because.
We might get a penalty. We might get a penalty.
Well, we might get a penalty, but can you imagine if it was the difference between getting through and not? So, if we've just talked about how
It could go
prize
down
money is about 50 grand. So say it was 10% of that, and I've no idea if it is right, but say it was 10% of that, and it's going to cost Falkirk £5,000 to do it. It might be worth it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, like you said, we don't know if we'll be on the telly or not. Like you say, you'll know the result by now. So we'll see. But yeah, it'll be a bit exciting. It'll be exciting anyway to have to experience VAR as a Falkirk supporter. And like you say, you might even get a penalty. Who knows? So yeah, like I say, follow us Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Falkirk Daft. You can get Falkirk Daft merch, of course, not mentioned that. shop.spreadshirt.co.uk/Falkirk-Daft. Free delivery has ended, but we've got some more offers coming up on merch really soon, so keep an eye out for that. And subscribe below YouTube. You can do all that sort of stuff as well. Right, onwards to Edinburgh. Looking forward to the day out, Ross. It should be good. Are we starting? I believe it's a 10:30 train from Falkirk, is it?
Something like that, mate.
Oh my god, it's gonna be a long day. Have you ran it past? I don't think I've not even run this past the wife yet.
I'm sure I've laid.
Right, are you putting the groundwork? Sprinkled some seeds. Because I always get the question, why are you leaving at 10:30 to go to a game that starts at 3 o'clock and then you don't get back in the door till the back of 8? I don't know. Just a long game.
Just a long game, yeah. Exactly.
It's a long game. So, we'll wait and see. It should be a good day out. And fingers crossed for a Bairns win. Thank you very much for listening to Falkirk Daft. We're up the road, and until next time.
Expect the unexpected, buddy.